Hey, what's up, everybody? We are here, episode 122 of 101 here on Bowie Television and, of course, the Legacy Maker Sports Network. We are very excited to be able to bring you a new episode in the last episode of the regular season, getting these power rankings in here, giving you week 18, letting you know where everybody stands as we enter the last week of the regular season, and playoffs start next week. So the playoff editions of 101 will be heading your way next week. But let's go ahead and rock this bad boy out. Let's go ahead and get you episode 122 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie Television. Make sure you go and subscribe to all of our social media channels on both Bowie Television and on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. With that being said, let's rock this bad boy out. Episode 122 coming at you now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Episode 122. Episode 122 of the Legacy Maker Sports Network's 101 here on Bowie Television and, of course, on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. It's week 18. We got a lot to get into. We got the bottom. We got the outside looking in. We got the top 10, and we got the finale. And, of course, we'll give you an update on the Legacy Maker Sports Network Pick'em League Championship. We already had that round locked and loaded and set to go. But let's get into these power rankings. We still got a couple of playoff spots that need to be secured this week, or will be secured this week, and we'll see how those go. But let's get into the bottom and see where these teams stand. We also got draft picks that are being locked up. Somebody already locked the number one pick of the draft, but we'll go ahead and get into all that here in just a little bit. Let's go to the bottom first. This week's bottom is somewhat the same, but I believe there's still actually a couple teams in the bottom that can make the playoffs. So last week we had 24 teams that were still in the mix. And as of right now, out of those teams, I think actually everybody is eliminated. No, the Vikings. The Vikings can still make the playoffs. And the Falcons can still make the playoffs. Everybody else at this bottom has been eliminated. So Vikings and the Falcons are hanging on dearly to playoff life. Falcons can get in. Wild card scenario be weird, but they can still get in that way. They can still win the division and get in. If they win the division, and somehow win the division, then like I said, it'll just be interesting. But it's possible. But it is possible. Anyway, let's get into this power ranking week 18. First, we'll start off with the team that is 2-14, securing the number one overall draft pick, which they will send to the number 21 team on this power ranking, the Chicago Bears, the Carolina Panthers. Carolina last week went into Jacksonville and decided we're not scoring any points. And Jacksonville, despite not having Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Beathard, whatever way you like to say that, I always get it weirded up, but they go in there, get a 26-0 victory over Carolina. And this miserable season for the Carolina Panthers is almost over. They do have one more game, and I believe they got the Buccaneers this week. So don't quote me on that right off the bat, but I believe they got the Buccaneers this week. And it's just one of those things now where, you're getting yourself ready for the offseason. Your first pick will be pick number 33, not number 1, due to that trade to Chicago. And the first thing at hand will be to get themselves a quarterback. I mean, not a quarterback, my fault, to get themselves a new head coach. They got their quarterback, at least, for now. They got their quarterback in Bryce Young, but we want to see where that head coaching position will go. It is a wide open field right now. And, Carolina will have themselves an interesting offseason trying to figure that out. They're at 32. At 31, speaking of another team that's going to have an extremely interesting offseason, that's the Washington Commanders. Now, Washington did beat our 29 and 30th team that are on this power ranking this week, but Washington has not won since week 9, and that's when they beat the New England Patriots. They haven't won since then. We're sitting here in week 18, and they could go 9 straight losses, which is insane, because I really did think this team was going to be a lot better this year, and it just did not happen. This past weekend, got a chance to shoot 49ers and Commanders via the photography lens, and got some really good shots out there. It was fun. And the Commanders hung in. They were all the way to like the mid-third quarter, and the score was 13-10, and the Commanders were in the contest, and then they gave the game away late. And the 49ers came up and they showed out and they did what they needed to do. They would eventually clinch the number 1 seed due to a Philadelphia Eagles loss to the number 29 team on our power ranking, the Arizona Cardinals, and a little bit of a shocker, but the Eagles have struggled. But back to the Commanders. Washington right now, this weekend against Dallas is going to be a very somber mood. I think everybody kind of knows where everything's directed. I'll be at the exit interview the next day to see how that all plans out. So it's going to be a very interesting next couple of weeks, or going on to a month, for the Washington Commanders. They're at 31. At 30, the New England Patriots, another team that could be in that same scenario. They will have a top 5 pick. We just don't know what that top 5 pick will look like, or should have a top 5 pick. We just don't, like I said, just don't know what it'll look like and where position they could be in, because they could finish at number 2. They could finish at number 4, maybe even number 5. But they will be in that top 5 selecting. And we don't know if Bill Belichick will be back as head coach. That is the other factor on that. So, New England had a really nice game against the Bills. I mean, they fought hard, gave it everything they got. They beat them earlier this year. They had a chance to win this time, and it just wasn't in the cards to beat Buffalo, as Buffalo is starting to surge now. But New England loses that one. They fall to 4-10. They're number 30 on our power ranking. And number 29, we spoke about it before, the Arizona Cardinals getting a win over the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a well-deserved win. I mean, Kyler Murray really went out there and did his thing, and able to get a win for his head coach, former defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. And so Coach Gannon getting the win for him. I know that had to feel really good, but you can see this Arizona Cardinal team has pieces that they can build on to be a better football team. They've been competitive for the most part of this season. So kudos to the Arizona Cardinals getting the win over Philadelphia. Number 28, the San Diego Chargers, aka the LA Chargers, a 16-9 loss to the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, who still had a chance to make the playoffs and even win the division. Those all went away as the evening went along on Sunday. They were close. They still got the win, but they have a chance to finish with a over 500 season after a rough season last year. They bench Russell Wilson. That's a whole nother mess, but the Chargers couldn't get anything going, and the Chargers are going to be another team more likely looking for a head coach as we head into the offseason. They're at 28. At 27, the Tennessee Titans. Now, I don't think this team will be looking for a head coach, but they definitely have to figure some things out when it comes to player personnel. Is Levis going to be the future? There's a lot that they have to figure out with that bad boy, and so hopefully we'll be able to figure that out here soon for that team as we get into the offseason. But they're at 27. At 26, the New York Football Giants. They gave the Rams everything they could handle on Sunday, losing 26-25, but it was a really good game. Tyrod Taylor had a really good game, 319 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. I'm still the one person that says, hey, man, maybe you should just let Tyrod start next year. But there's a strong chance that the Giants will be looking at a quarterback. We just really don't know where they're going to go. Really just don't know where they're going to go. But it can only be up from here, right? Right? We got the Giants at 26. At 25, the New York Football Jets. The Jets lost 37-20 to the Browns, and they dearly, just ever so dearly needed Aaron Rodgers this season. They just need a quarterback that can play some football and an offensive line that can just hold them up just a little bit. That defense did all they could this season. They did all they could. Very talented defense. And I'm still intrigued to see what would things have been like if they had Aaron Rodgers start. And they went 6-10 without Aaron Rodgers with an abysmal situation at quarterback. So who knows how good that Jets team would have been this year if they had a healthy Aaron Rodgers. They're at 25. At 24, the Minnesota Vikings, who are still in the playoff mix, not quite eliminated, but they lose to the Packers 33-10 in a game where Jordan Love just showed off and showed out, and that defense came to play. Shout out to Jaden Reed also in a great game for the Packers. The Vikings just couldn't get it going, and they had started with Jaron Hall, and it just didn't go well initially. They bring in Nick Mullins. That didn't go well in the second half. They did get a score. It just wasn't enough. Just wasn't enough for the Vikings there at 24. But they need a lot of things to happen to still make the playoffs. At 23, the Vegas Raiders. Vegas lost to the Indianapolis Colts 23-20. And they're going to be another team that in the offseason they have some decisions to make. Biggest one being if they're going to keep Coach Antonio Pierce, which I think he deserves the opportunity to coach this team full-time next year. I think he's still going to need some different pieces to really get that offense going. I don't think Aiden O'Connell is the answer at quarterback, but he has been serviceable these last couple of weeks entering this last game of the regular season. Good to see Devontae Adams have a 13-reception, 126-yard game and 2 touchdowns a week late when I needed that in my fantasy championship or semifinals last week. But like I said, it's a thing going on there in Vegas. They're at 23. At 22, the Atlanta Falcons still hanging on to playoff hope, but they did not have the greatest game last weekend, and this Falcons team has had their moments. But last week against the number 21 team, Chicago Bears, they got dollywopped. And this is a Bears team that is starting to cook now. The Bears have played really decent football and these last couple of weeks, and they also see themselves unfortunately they were still in a position that they could have made the playoffs, but they are officially eliminated as of last weekend. So right now you got a team that is trying to keep things rolling. They are on a 2-game winning streak, and they're looking to play spoiler this weekend against the Packers, who need to win to get in. They can still get in under some other circumstances, but to be honest with you, they just need to win. They just need to win. So there it is, our bottom for Week 18. Panthers, Commanders, Patriots, Cardinals, Chargers, Titans, Giants, Jets, Vikings, Raiders, Falcons, and the Chicago Bears. So as we enter, the bottom 2 teams still in the mix of the playoffs, but we don't know how far or if it will actually go down, but we'll find all that out this weekend. Let's go ahead and go to the outside looking in. Outside looking in, outside looking in. Let's look at this ranking 20 through 11. At number 20, the Denver Broncos are officially out of the playoffs. They win their game against the Chargers. They benched Russell Wilson in favor of Jarrett Stidham, and we don't know if Stidham's going to be the future. We don't know what's going to happen in Denver. Another situation where it's just kind of murky, and we don't know exactly how that will play out. But Denver did get the win. They have a chance if they win this week to finish 9-8 and have a finish with a winning season. At number 19, the Cincinnati Bengals, who had playoff hopes as of last weekend, but did lose to the Kansas City Chiefs in a game where they started off well, and it looked like they had a chance that like they were going to win this, or maybe take full advantage of a struggling Chiefs team who haven't been able to look like the Chiefs of old or normal, I guess you would say. And the Chiefs went out there, got the win, clinched themselves a playoff spot, but in the process, eliminating the Cincinnati Bengals. So Cincinnati, they fought hard. They were in the mix, and who knows if Joe Burrow was healthy, where that team would have landed. They're at 19. At 18, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints with a big win. big win over the Buccaneers. This is a game I did not see going the way it went. I really thought the Buccaneers were cruising. They were kind of getting things going, and I thought they would get the win, and it did not go that way. It just didn't. But the Saints get a win, and they still hang on to playoff hopes. They're at 18. At 17, speaking of another team hanging on to playoff hopes, the Seattle Seahawks lost a really, really important game to the Steelers, who are officially 9-7. And congratulations to Mike Tomlin for, I believe, his 17th straight winning season at that, as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. No losing seasons. That's a remarkable thing for the 14th ranked team on this power ranking and their head coach. So Seattle loses this game to Pittsburgh 30-23, and now Seattle's going to need some help in order to get into the playoffs or this Sunday or get into the dance next week. At number 16, the Green Bay Packers, winning you in. That's all it is. Beautiful, beautiful game against the Minnesota Vikings, winning that one 33-10. Jordan Love is playing great football. But the biggest factor of all this, the two biggest factors, the young receivers stepping up when they need to, Aaron Jones being Aaron Jones, and the defense, just they play really good ball. They play really good ball. So Packers, you're winning, you're in, you lose, and there's a strong chance you will be sitting home. At number 15, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who right now still hold on to the division lead. If they win, they're in. So that's just kind of where it is right now. You win and you're in. If you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're going to try to bounce back from that loss to the Saints. The Steelers are going to need help if they want to make the playoffs. So a lot of losses are going to happen in front of them. They're going to have to beat the hottest team in football, the Baltimore Ravens. And now if the Ravens decide to rest their players, that may make it a little bit easier. But I don't see that happening, not in this rivalry. I think they will play at least for a little while, but we will see how that goes. Steelers at 14. At 13, a team holding on tight to a playoff spot, just holding on tight to that 7th seed. That's the Indianapolis Colts. They're probably the least talked about playoff team that's currently in. They've just found ways to win games. It hasn't been pretty at times, but they're 9-7 and they win and they're in. They win and they're in. Speaking of another team looking to, punch their ticket into the playoffs, that's the Houston Texans. If the Texans can beat the Colts, that's going to put them in a really good chance to get into the playoffs, but it's going to be a wild weekend. Now, they play on Saturday, and that will definitely give us a heads up heading into Sunday. So you see Ravens and Steelers on Saturday, and then you will also see Colts and Texans on Saturday. So both of those teams coming off wins, still trying to get into that playoff mix. At number 11, the Los Angeles Rams, a hot football team, a team that's continuing to play good football throughout, and they, had to scrap against the Giants, but the Giants have been scrappy this second half of the season. And they get in, they clinch a playoff spot. The Super Bowl champs from 2 years, quietly, I guess you can say, have made the playoffs again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your outside looking in. We got Broncos, Bengals, Saints, Seahawks, Packers, Bucks, Steelers, Colts, Texans, and Los Angeles Rams. So that is our outside looking in as we head into week 18. And now we are going to get ready for the top 10. Top 10, top 10, top 10, top 10. Here we are as we enter the top 10. Starting things off in the top 10, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I don't even know if they deserve to be here. This probably should be the Rams. But I still, when they're healthy, I still think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are the better team than the Rams. That's just my personal opinion. I think they have a better overall defense, and I think I like their weapons when they're healthy. But they have struggled to get to this part. Jacksonville will need to win this weekend to win the division. If not, they got two teams hungry and waiting behind them in the Colts and the Houston Texans. So we'll see how that plays out. Jaguars at 10. At 9, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have clinched the number 3 seed. They will be chilling out, relaxing all good, shooting some b-ball outside of the school. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I wanted to make sure. Yeah, so they have clinched the 3rd seed. Even though they beat the Dolphins and they lose, if the Bills win, they're going to get the number 2 seed. So that's 9, 8, 10 is a little bit weird out there. But Kansas City gets the win against the Bengals to clinch that spot. They've got to fix their receiver woes in Kansas City. 40 plus drop passes on the season. That just is insane. They've got to get Patrick Mahomes some receivers that can catch the football. I'm just surprised. I never would have thought that it would be that way, but I digress. At number 8, the Miami Dolphins coming off a shellacking to our number 1 team in the power rankings, the Baltimore Ravens. They lost 56-19. 56-19, which is insane to lose 56-19, especially if you're technically the current, at the time of this game, the number 2 seed in the AFC. And if you're the AFC, that's got to be scary, especially with the way Baltimore defense is playing. And if Lamar Jackson is cooking like that, I mean, who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But the Dolphins are at 8. At 7, the Buffalo Bills. And I really wanted to put them higher on this. I really did. But I think they're decent where they are right now. Even though they beat the Cowboys, I think they're decent where they are right now. And if they win, I think that I will definitely have them higher. If they win next week and they win that division, that Dolphins and Bills game will be the Sunday night affair to determine the winner of the AFC East. So that should be a fun one on Sunday night. At number 6, we've got the Philadelphia Eagles coming off of another loss. Philly's struggling. Philly is struggling, and I don't have any good answers for them. They just hopefully they'll figure it out for Philly fans. But if not, and somehow Green Bay gets in and, they end up being a 2 seed, I'm cool with it. They just continue to struggle. Let's see what happens from there. We got the Eagles at 6, but I still think they'll figure it out. Jalen Hurts is just not healthy, y'all. And that and the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator being gone. That is another key factor for that Eagles team. At number 5, the Detroit Lions. They lost to the Cowboys on last Saturday. They probably should have won the game. There was a controversial 2-point conversion that didn't go their way, but they said that the call that they called on the field wasn't even the correct call, even though they still would have been in a legal formation. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't knock Dan Campbell for giving it a shot. I think he thought, hey, if we win the game, we seal our fate. If Dallas is losing, we're the number 2 seed. So I know what he was trying to do, and I'm not mad at that. But we'll see how things play out for the Lions. But they're in the playoffs, so it doesn't even matter. At number 4, the Dallas Cowboys, who win this week. Guess what? They're the number 2 seed in the NFC. Not quite everything going through Dallas, but those first 2 games will go through Dallas. And that's what you want if you're a Cowboys fan. You want people to come into Jerry's world and try to win. At number 3, that's right. At number 3, the Cleveland Browns. I like what this team is doing right now. Joe Flacco's playing good football. There's some weird interceptions here and there, but those interceptions haven't affected how well this Browns team has played, and they are so lucky to have gotten Joe Flacco at this time to try to come in there and help this team make their playoff push to the Super Bowl. Browns are at 3. At 2, the San Francisco 49ers, who clinched their home field advantage throughout the NFC playoffs with a win over the Commanders, 27-10. I was there, got a chance to see, the potential Super Bowl team in action. And I can now say that I've seen them and the Ravens play. And so I can kind of get a feel on how both of these teams are. But there it is, our power rankings. Ravens are number 1. So we got Jaguars, Chiefs, Dolphins, Bills, Eagles, Lions, Cowboys, Browns, 49ers, and the Baltimore Ravens are number 1 for the second straight. All right, so we're going to go ahead and finish this bad boy up. It's time for the finale. All right. So for the finale this week, first, let's start off with our players of the week from last weekend. First, Lamar Jackson, 18 for 22, 321 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, and a 56-19 victory over Miami. Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I think it's going to be hard for him to lose it right now, but I think he gets his second MVP this season. And, hopefully that translates to a Super Bowl victory for the Ravens, but we'll see. Now, This one hurts my feelings a little bit, but I'm very happy for him. And this is Rasul Douglas, our defensive player of the week. 2 tackles, 2 picks, and a touchdown versus New England to help Buffalo propel themselves in the position that they're in with a chance to win the AFC East after a struggle during the middle of the season. They've kind of bounced back there. So we'll see what they can and what they'll end up doing. Speaking of the MVP race, this is where it stands. It hasn't changed from last week. I got Jackson, McCaffrey, Purdy, Hill, and Tua. I think these guys have been the most important players on their teams this year, and I think Lamar Jackson has locked this bad boy up. So it's going to be tough for the other four, I guess you can say, to kind of pull something out here. I think Miami and Tyreek Hill and Tua still have a chance. McCaffrey's not playing. Purdy, I think at this point probably won't get it, but definitely deserves real consideration, of course. Now let's talk about the NFL Legacy Maker NFL Pick'ems League. Last week, our semifinal matchups, James versus Christina. James won 13-11 over Christina to move to the championship. He'll take on the number 6 seed, the wild card, beating the number 1 seed, Russ. That's our man Larry, who moves into Larry for the Pick'em Playoff Championship, and see who will come home with the grand prize, $200, and of course to be known as the Pick'em League champion. Now, our playoffs, where we stand right now. In the AFC, all the first 5 positions or the first 5 teams have been clinched. Let's put it that way. There are still a couple of things that can kind of go awry here or whatever. But the Ravens right now, currently number 1, they've already locked that in. Everything goes through Baltimore. Number 2, the Miami Dolphins. But this could change if Buffalo wins on Sunday. If Buffalo wins on Sunday, they jump into 2. The Dolphins drop to 6. Which means we would get Kansas City Dolphins in at the beginning of the playoffs. So that it's a possibility. But right now, Dolphins and Colts. The Colts are the 7th seed. Chiefs and Bills. Chiefs 3, Bills 6. And then Jaguars and Browns. Jaguars 4, Browns number 5. In the NFC, already locked and loaded. We got the San Francisco 49ers. They've clinched the 1 seed. They're sitting there pretty, and they're just waiting to see how things will play out. At number 2, the Dallas Cowboys. Their win over Detroit really helped them big time. They're number 2 right now, and they would face the number 7 seed Green Bay Packers, who have to win in order to get in. They have to win. I think there's another scenario where they can get in, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I think everybody has to lose, everybody, the whole league. But anyway, right now it would be Dallas versus Green Bay, 2-7. The Lions, the 3 seed against LA, which would be interesting because that would be Matt Stafford coming back to his stomping grounds in Detroit. And that would be a big chip for Dan Campbell if they can pull that off and move on to the next round after that and get the Lions' first playoff victory in like 30 years, 50 years, something like that. It's crazy stuff. And number 4, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on the number 5 seed Philadelphia Eagles. Now, everybody in the NFC has clinched except for the 4 seed. That the NFC South has not been solidified. And, of course, that last wild card spot with the Packers holding on to it at the current time. Current record on the season, 159-97. My goal this week is do not lose more than – I want to keep it under 100. So I don't want to lose no more than 2 games. That's what I'm hoping for. But, who knows in the playoffs. Went 9-7 the week before last, went 12-4 last week. I needed that 2 weeks ago. That would have helped me advance, but that's also something I digress on. Next, my winners for the weekend, I've got the – Ravens, Texans, Packers, Cowboys, Bucks, Browns, Lions, Patriots, Jaguars, Cardinals, Chiefs, Raiders, Eagles, 49ers, Saints, and Buffalo Bills winning in Week 18. So hopefully that's the winning combination for another episode of One-on-One. We'll be back for episode 123 next week. 123 next week, which also means we'll be in the playoffs. Until then, y'all enjoy your first week of January, and we'll see you all next week. Until next time.
Legacy Maker, the All Sports Network.
Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody